of weeks ago. Why is this important? I will be telling you that because Kenya has officially begun the journey towards the 2027-2028 national budget, a budget that will be prepared against the backdrop of high public debt, pressure to raise domestic revenue by KRA, demands for economic relief, and the political realities of an approaching general election. But before looking forward, there is a critical question to answer. What lessons has Kenya learned from the Finance Act of 2026-2027 and the performance of the Kenya Revenue Authority, or taxman, as businesses and ordinary Kenyans brace for possible changes in taxation? The global economy is also facing fresh risk, about the war in Ukraine, geopolitical tension, and price volatility. So what can Kenyans expect from the financial year 2027-2028 budget? Now joining us is Nathan Kiptui, CPA, Nathan Kiptui, who is a principal tax advisor at Ichiban Tax and Business Advisory. Karibu sana the program.
Thank you very much,
and
Troy.
Thank you so much for making time.
Thank you.
Well, first things first, let's say we put this interview together with you, and we were looking at some of the things that we'll be looking at, especially because anybody who's hearing that I'm doing 2027-28 budget, might think maybe, we have 1 year for the budget making process, but we did see that Treasury has already started that process. But first things first, looking ahead, what is your overall assessment of the Finance Act we just, a couple of weeks ago, that was assented to by the President?
Thank you very much, Troy, for that introduction. So the Finance Act of 2026 was brought into law in the month of June. Yeah. Just some weeks ago. And as we've seen in this Finance Act of 2026, it was more focused on the tax administration side as opposed to the traditional ways of increasing taxes. So overall, as we can see from our view, the Treasury are more focused on how to raise more revenues without necessarily increasing on any taxes, which is a welcome move to business people and Kenyans at large. Yes.
And of course, we are looking at the Finance Act 2026 and also KRA's performance. What were the key amendments introduced to the Finance Act? I remember during the public participation exercise, companies and also Kenyans came out to oppose some of the things, and government also did away with some of the things.
Okay. So, as you said, the Finance Act amended various tax laws which are in place, and includes Income Tax Act. There is also the VAT Act. There is the Tax Procedures Act, Excise Duty, and also miscellaneous fees and levies. So the amendments are varied across all the tax laws. And just to mention a few of these amendments, which are very key or critical, in our view, is that the first one is the Tax Amnesty Program. So the Tax Amnesty Program is a reintroduction of another tax amnesty which was there in the Finance Act of 2023. So that one is an advantage given to taxpayers to benefit from waivers of interest and penalties that have accrued up to 31st December 2025. And taxpayers have got a window of 6 months to benefit from that. So if, let's say right now you've got tax liabilities or penalties on your ledger, so you go to KRA and then agree on a payment plan where the penalties and interest are being waived. The other key amendment as well is the definition of what a bad debt means for people or players within the financial sector. This way, the Act has also defined it as it includes the principal tax. So if, let's say, now you give someone a loan and they default and you're not able to recover. So this way, the Act now has defined it as it's inclusive of the principal and any interest that is charged. Another one is the VAT. There are some exemptions which, through this Finance Act of 2026, were extended to supplies that are made to national infrastructure projects and also construction of LPG petroleum setups of investments of over 5 billion, and so many more, including the excise duty on water, because we've also seen that the act has deleted that one, so which is a welcome move. And another critical one, which I can just mention as I close, is the tax return filing. As you've seen traditionally, we've always had 6 months to file our tax returns, including now the June deadline, which lapsed the other day.
Yes.
So the Act now says for individuals, you've got up to end of April, 30th of April, to file your returns. So that means you plan in advance so that you have your books in order, and then you're able to file the return on time.
And also,
but for entities, sorry, you've got up to 30th of June. Yes.
And also made it easier for Kenyans. Now we are doing it via WhatsApp.
Exactly.
And of course, if you have some penalties, you are able to pay
exactly
very well. But still on KRA, being a taxman, how would you rate their performance so far? You know, there have been a number of issues that have come up when it comes to taxation. We're talking about broadening the tax base as opposed to introduction of new taxes.
Okay. So in our assessment, because I remember some weeks ago, KRA released their performance for the year 25-26. And in terms of the percentages, they attained a collection rate of 10.6% from a previous rate of 8.6. Yeah, sorry. So this way, it shows that over the years, they're able to collect more taxes from within the confines of the acts or bills which are brought into play. And as well, in terms of numbers, they collected 2.8 trillion in the year 2025-2026 compared to a previous year performance of 2.5. So this way, that is in terms of the target. But as well as we look at it, it's sometimes it's important to look at this performance from a point of what are some of the impacts that have been brought to the taxpayers. For instance, now it's important to look at how maybe refunds are done. Are they more efficient? Not just the headline number of the target. So it's also important to look at some of those parameters which are analytical or let's say they are not financial in nature. Yeah.
And of course, KRA has also digitized a lot. And talking about expanding the tax base, we are netting in more taxes. How efficient has this process been of collecting taxes and broadening the tax bracket? Because we know very well so many sectors are outside the tax bracket.
Yeah. So to be sincere, the performance in terms of efficiency, we might not say that we are yet there, but then in terms of what measures KRA have put in place to collect on these taxes or make it efficient, they've done a tremendous job. Because as we speak, they are more data-driven than before. Also, the introduction of the digitization aspect. Because, for instance, now you just mentioned the chatbot, the WhatsApp chatbot. You're able to file your returns on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
You're also able to reach out to KRA for any inquiries at any given time. Also, we've seen introduction of electronic tax invoicing system, eTIMS, and e-rates as well for people who are having rental properties. So in terms of digitization, I think it's a welcome move, so that now, of course, now in this era of technology, yeah, clearly it's something good for them.
We're on the right track.
We're on the right track.
Let's now look at the budget making process. And as I've mentioned that, of course, even the finance bill, everything will be done a little bit earlier on because of maybe because of the elections. But even preparing this interview, talking about 2027-28 budget, it seems a little bit premature for such kind of a discussion. But we did see Treasury and CS Mbadi talk about they have already started the budget making process for the next for next year. Why is this so significant? Especially, we know very well we have elections, but somebody would argue it's a little bit earlier.
Yeah, so this budget making process is very significant, considering the election which is upcoming. And maybe I can take a minute to explain on the calendar.
Yes.
So as you know, the financial year for the government starts from 1st of July every year and ends on the 30th of June. So this way, looking at the coming general election, per the Constitution, we are required to conduct general election after every 5 years on the second Tuesday of August, or the 5th year. So the next second Tuesday for the general election will be on the 10th of August 2027. So this way, looking at the budget which we are now looking at, we will prepare the budget between this financial year up to now 30th of June, when now this budget will be implemented between 1st of July to the other period, which is 2028. So it's significant because now, remember again, the IEBC have published on a notice on how the general elections will be done and key deadlines. So as well, it's important that as the CS presented the guideline yesterday, he mentioned that it's critical that we do it earlier. And for sure, it's according to the calendar which the National Treasury has released, is that the process has already kicked off. Actually, it kicked off on the 10th of July. So this way, from the traditional way, or these are the years, which we normally start our process of budget process from around August there. So this way, this is a early kickoff because of the upcoming elections. And again, in terms of key timelines, you will see a change in terms of when key reports or draft bills are being done. Because according to their projection, we've seen that the Finance Act or the bill should be signed into law at around March. But again, what is very critical that the CS Treasury has also mentioned is that we are doing this within the confines of the law and the Constitution. So that way, there is no harm in doing it early. Yes.
Yes, and we also speculate in regards to what happens if we have a runoff. But to put this into context, there's a story that we ran yesterday in regards to this, just to put into perspective, where National Treasury expects revenue from taxes to grow by 20% in the 2027-28 fiscal year. This will be achieved through the digitization of tax services and enhancing compliance levels. National Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi says the government will ramp up investment in agriculture, value chains, affordable housing, digital infrastructure, and renewable energy. Regina Manyara did file this report. This is how it looks like.
Despite strong economic indicators, including GDP growth of 5.3% in the first quarter of 2026 and easing inflation to 6.4%, revenue collection has remained below expectations.
This economy has the potential of collecting up to even 22% of GDP as ordinary revenue.
The government is targeting to raise 4 trillion shillings in the 2027-2028 cycle, backed by investment in productive sectors including county aggregation and industrial parks, special economic zones, agriculture value chains, affordable housing, digital infrastructure and renewable energy.
You know that we are facing a job crisis as an economy, as a country. And there is no better place for us to create jobs than during sector working groups hearings. So the budget committees will be expecting you to come up with programs that, first of all, have impact. And we also believe that every sector is capable of creating job opportunities.
Through sound investment decision, improved corporate governance, strategic asset management, and effective public-private partnership, we continue to contribute to sustainable economic growth.
Treasury projects to lift growth, broaden the tax base, and support the medium-term target of 7.2% in the financial year 2027-2028, while favoring agriculture, manufacturing, housing, healthcare, MSMEs, and the digital economy.
But it is very annoying for someone to tell investors not to invest in our country at a time when investor confidence has risen. And for investor confidence to rise in a country, it takes effort. It does not just happen in a day. It takes effort. And when those efforts have started bearing fruit, please keep quiet.
The key message here is that every budget allocation should directly contribute to achievement of MTP4/better outcomes.
CS Mbadi further noted financial year 2027-2028 budget will focus on balancing between clearing existing obligations, sustaining economic growth, financing priority social programs, and maintaining fiscal discipline ahead of the 2027 general election.
There are many sectors here that are going to be involved in elections: the security sector, the judiciary, and you know yourselves. So we expect you to ensure that you budget for the elections.
Regina.
Very well, that gives even a deeper and clear image of how 2027-28 budget will look like. And just like you've had the CS Mbadi talk about, we cannot be urging investors to, to run away now. But let's be very honest. Our politics, every election year, the economy kind of is sluggish, and especially when we are having the elections. Look at 2007, what happened. Look at 2017, the economy was a bit sluggish as well during the elections and the runoff that we had, or a rerun that we had. So how can this affect our GDP and our economic growth, bearing in mind that this election cycle looks a little bit more charged than the previous one we've had?
Okay, so for sure it's a speculation on how the elections will go.
Yes.
But then I would want to look at it from the perspective from the government side, in that they've put in measures to ensure that our economy is resilient enough. So, and some of the policies which the government, the CS has already mentioned is on, the tax policy. Strengthening on the tax policy, things like tax administration, making it more efficient, and also strengthening our foreign exchange reserves.
Yes.
So this way, it will give our investors confidence that even with the elections coming in, so in terms of investment, they don't have a cost to worry about. But then, as you know, for sure elections are a bit charged, so there will be a bit more change as compared to these other years in terms of how businesses view the political space. And again, what business people are looking at most of the time is on certainty in terms of how the future will look like. So that now they have a strategy on how either an investment is being done. So that is very critical for business people. Yes.
To the question that I talked about earlier on in regards to speculation, what happens if we have a runoff? Because that, I'm quite sure that has not been factored in. Would we need a supplementary budget for the same?
Yeah, sure. We'll need a supplementary budget. But then if you look at it from what the CS was saying, is that within the sector working groups, or MDAs or government institutions, they should come up with a budget which has contingency plans in it. So that now we don't get to the year of elections, and then now we have to look at what was not factored in the budget. Because normally even this year, we also saw the government coming in to subsidize some of the sectors like the fuel and even the fertilizers, and they had to do a supplementary budget for that. So it's high time, because now we are starting the budget making process, it's important that we as well look at what are some of those considerations in terms of, let's say, the runoff, that yes, clearly, if we don't attain 50+1 clear win, so that means we will have a rerun. Yeah. And it will be costly. Yes.
Yeah, because our elections are quite expensive.
Very
now,
expensive.
because the process has already kick-started, at what point, you have outlined the budget-making process, at what point do now businesses and citizens engage in, begin to put in their submissions, public participation?
Yeah. So that usually happens between the month of September, and it goes all the way to around February, March, which again, with the new calendar, that means it will come forward to, let's say, sometime in September or early September thereabouts, depending on how the calendar will run. And these submissions not necessarily mean that you need to wait for the bill to come out in next year. So you can do that through the other channels like the sector working groups. We've also had parliamentary committees sitting. So you can as well make your submissions early in advance so that they are being factored. Yes.
I know this is an aspect of governance because you do remember one of the things that made the Gen Zs come out to oppose the finance bill of 2024 was they said that their voice has not been factored in the public participation. I know this is not a matters tax, but how meaningful is public participation in Kenya? Because each and every time, I think even the ministry is a little bit cagey when it comes to telling Kenyans. You know, they have to really inform Kenyans and tell them, no, we are not adding taxes. Forget what these people are talking about, because of course we have this thing that we saw on social media where people are saying this will be taxed, this will be taxed. This. How important is public participation? And remember, we do not have an act, a public participation act. It's just enshrined in the Constitution.
Exactly. Actually, that's what I was going to say. That yes, public participation is enshrined in the Constitution. Which we've seen also the government trying their best to do public participation when it comes to bills or any acts that are affecting the public. And even yesterday, I remember the CS mentioning that doing that launch and inviting the public to attend it was also an act of public participation in engaging the citizens, that this is a process that we are doing as a country. So it's very critical to have public participation because you ensure that all the sectors, all the concerns by various sectors are being factored in when it comes to implementation. And so the question about, is this done to the latter? That is a question you and I will need to think about. And again, what is important is that we've seen acts of purposely ensuring that we conduct public participation. Yes.
Still on public participation,
yes.
We have seen institutions, and especially when we have public participation where we're engaging stakeholders, business people, federations of employers, they talk about, and investors, they talk about they would want a predictable tax regime. We are heading toward the 2027 general election, and in most African countries, when they near, and even Kenya, when we near the election, we will find that the economy is not doing as good as it was doing before we entered into politics. How can the government ensure that we have a really predictable tax regime, that investors will not shy because of a general election?
Okay, yeah, so it's a tricky balance for the government because, for instance, the tax policies, we have the national tax policy, which now says within the period of 5 years or 3 years,
yes,
certain taxes should be maintained within range. And over time, I'll be honest that this has not been the case. Sometimes even the fact that we are having a finance bill or finance act every year is not giving an investor confidence on certainty on tax matters. So it's something that the government needs to consider, because it gives us some impetus on how the economy will look like, even with the elections coming. Yes.
And how does election pressures affect the credibility of revenue and expenditure projections?
So elections in general, in terms of economy, so this means that people will, or businesses will invest less, and this way, it will mean that within the economy, in terms of prices or even investment or making investments within the country, it will mean that people will shy away from doing that, which again, in terms of cash flow or how the economy is doing in terms of GDP, it will be greatly affected. Yeah.
And why is everyone calling this an election budget? And especially, of course, government is not calling it that, but players in the sector, election budget.
Okay.
And I think election will take about, what, less than 100 billion shillings?
Yeah. Actually, yes, it's true, because in my view, it's an election budget because it is the very last budget that we are preparing before the general election. And remember as well, the current regime, they're on their 4th year. So that means it will be a very critical budget for them as we go to the next election, because clearly we cannot confirm that they will be back in office or otherwise.
Yeah.
So this way, it's important to look at this budget from a critical angle, because it informs what will take us to the next election cycle and post-2027 as we look forward to the Vision 2030.
Yeah, because Kenyans are watching, what can we expect in this 2027-28 budget?
In my view, what Kenyans should expect is certainty in terms of tax, in terms of tax administration, also spending measures by the government. It's likely that the government will look at how to cut on costs. Some of the things that are also expected is like the pending bills. Government will try and as much as possible to pay pending bills so that now it can sustain cash flows within companies or business people. So those are some of the things that business people, Kenyans, look after. Yes.
And maybe what, from your view, what should government prioritize? Of course, there is a general election, but what else should the government prioritize?
They should prioritize on foreign exchange, making it stable, so that, especially on the exchange rate, because we've seen it stabilize over some period of time now. Also, fiscal discipline in terms of if you budget that you will spend this much, the government also should look at how to maintain the budget within the budget lines, within the spending within the budget lines, as well spurring growth in terms of the common mwananchi. What are you, let's say, programs like the Nyota program? The government is also looking at how to improve on the common mwananchi, or is it the various sectors, let's say healthcare, education, and even the agricultural sector. Yes.
And for manufacturers, what tax relief or tax policy intervention would make the biggest difference as we head to the 2027 election?
I believe it's more of the costs of raw materials that are being used in the manufacturing sector. And remember also we had discussed about the global crisis on petroleum products.
Yes.
As well, this is also a key element by the manufacturing sector in terms of either the VAT or excise taxes. So this way, players within the manufacturing sector are looking forward to reduce taxes or efficiency in terms of how the tax administration is being done. And yeah, those are some of the things.
It's a good thing you've mentioned the war in Ukraine, or the war in the war in Iran and the Middle East. How has this affected us? And looking into 2027-28, how is it likely to affect us? Because we didn't think that it was going to take this long, and even the government did, reduce the VAT on petroleum products, and it has had to, inject some more or less like subsidies when it comes to things like diesel, so that to bring the cost down. But this has affected the economy.
True, and globally, it's causing financial shock to many countries or many jurisdictions, and it's something that we don't have control over. We can only hope that peace prevail, so that cost of products and items come down. But then, as Kenya as a country, we rely on importing petroleum products, and petroleum products are key in the manufacturing sector and also the logistics and the transport sector. So this way, if the prices go up because of the war in the Middle East, that means cost of production will go up, and also cost of commodities will also be expensive. So this way, it will affect the economy across. And the only thing now that the government will put in place, there are measures to cushion the economy from those financial shocks, such as entering into deals with oil companies to ensure that there is consistent supply of fuel. And also, as you've mentioned, the subsidy in terms of taxes. We've also seen in the recent past the VAT was reduced to 8%, and again it was extended to the month of October. So we are going to see that coming also as well as we approach the elections. Yes,
exactly. Just because we are approaching the election, that is one more or less like a hit on the economy. The reason I'm saying that is because in 2020, up to 2022, there we were 2019, 2020, we had COVID. We had the war in Ukraine in 2022-23, and now we have the war in Iran. How can Treasury prepare for another shock? Because we do not know whether there's going to be another shock. How can it prepare for external shocks? Just like we saw in 8% reduction of VAT.
Okay. So I think the best thing, as we speak, the government or the Treasury has also put measures in place, like the ones that we've mentioned. And again, it's more or less about planning for the future in such a way that if we are looking at October, can we now then look at beyond October? What will happen in December or even next year? So that now, even in terms of the budgeting, we have enough reserve for subsidies that will come in future, and even the preparedness in terms of the investors on how the economy will be affected. It will also be important for the government to do an analysis and a projection of the same. Yes.
And because the government did reduce taxes on VAT actually on petroleum product by 8%, but of course we were told that until things ease up. What happens if things don't ease up? You do remember the war in Ukraine has been going on for around 4 years now. What will happen, especially when it comes to economy? Because at the end of the day, there's some money that is not being factored in.
Yeah, sure. So same way, it will affect our economy, and the most important thing is for the government to put measures in place so that to ensure that the economy is resilient enough. And that means in terms of budgeting and other fiscal policy measures that the Treasury can as well deploy. Yes.
We've had a lot of commotion in 2024. We had a lot of commotion in regards to Kenyans coming out to complain about the finance bill, and 2025 government, came out strongly to tell the Kenyans this, we are not taxing this. 2026 they had to do the same thing. So what tax measures, from your view, should the government avoid?
In my view, the government should look at, or rather Treasury, they should look at the same way they did the Finance Act of 2026, to look at the tax administration side. What are some of the loopholes or measures that they can tighten in order to collect revenue or broaden the tax base? That way, it will now assist the economy from growing. So, as you've said, in the Finance Act or Bill of 2024, yes, it was in the public domain that most of the tax provisions were punitive. So this way, I think we can only encourage the Treasury to come up with measures that are aligning the tax administration side in order for them to collect more taxes without necessarily raising more taxes. Yes.
And tourism and investment are hugely affected by our elections. And I believe the Treasury should be coming up with some buffers, especially to cover during election or during our campaigns, because we are always, I think, in a campaign mode. Tourism and investments, they are worst affected by elections, especially in Kenya. How can government create a buffer, or how can it stimulate the economy so that when we come to the elections, it's more or less like business as usual, just like we saw in UK or in other countries that have held elections, and the tourism is still not affected?
Okay. So same way with the fuel or the logistics sector, the government, other than maybe bringing in subsidies or encouraging growth in the sector, I think it's more for the government to have those measures that are encouraging investors from coming into Kenya. But the most critical one for me is on ensuring that we've got peaceful elections, even in the work of these general elections. So this way, it will automatically spur growth in the industry. And so it's more or less about the confidence, certainty in terms of peace and elections. Yes.
And also we are looking at agriculture, which is the backbone of this country and of our economy, to be precise. How can we cover farmers? We've had some losses, especially when it comes to our maize. We've had huge losses, and government has come up with a number of projects, including insurance for animals and crops. How can we cover farmers to reduce imports?
Okay, so yes, the government has already come up with measures to cover farmers, including the insurance. The other thing which I've also seen is having a system where all the farmers register, and then they track the progress of their produce from the farm up to now getting earning from it. The other thing which I've also seen the government doing is on subsidizing some of the materials, like the, what do we call?
Fertilizer.
The fertilizer. Yeah. So that way, I think those are some of the measures which the government has already thought of way in advance to be able to cushion farmers from these economic shocks.
I'm also looking at the global shocks that we've had since COVID. How can these sectors, or which sectors are the most vulnerable? Yeah, we know the transport sector and the tourism, has really been hit. But which other sectors are quite vulnerable, bearing in mind that they are vulnerable now, and we still have an election that affects a number of sectors, including tourism, just like you mentioned?
Yeah. Yeah, so for sure, those are the major sectors that are affected by these shocks. Also, we'll see financial sectors also being affected, because that means that cost of borrowing and even inflation will go up. So this way, it will also affect the sector in terms of financing Kenyans and the economy at large. And of course, all these other sectors, in some way, it's being impacted by the economic shocks, because it's a wholesome thing. Yes.
And can our country, Kenya, realistically increase, because you're talking about increasing tax revenues without increasing rates or coming up with other taxes? How can the Treasury balance between these two?
Basically by automating some of the processes that are not yet automated. The other thing is like increasing the tax base. Because right now, most Kenyans are not under the radar, which now that means not all of us are paying the taxes that we are required to. And even increasing or improving on the efficiency. If, let's say, for example, now we've got the Tax Appeals Tribunal, and even cases which are the High Court, see how we can make it more efficient to resolve some of those issues. Also, something like processing refunds, because most companies for sure have got refunds that are still pending within the KRA. So if that can also be made efficient in such a way that these businesses or companies will benefit from, then it will greatly improve on the cash flows. Yes.
You're talking about improving and also increasing compliance as well. But how can KRA deal with informal businesses? Just like I mentioned, some are outside the tax bracket, and the digital economy, where you'll find significant amount of economic activity takes place outside the traditional tax structures. And we are talking about not increasing taxes, but making it even more friendlier so that people can voluntarily pay their taxes.
Okay. So two things that I can see on there is looking at specific sectors. Like you've just said, in terms of technology, like right now in the Finance Act of 2026, there was the introduction or the definition of virtual asset service providers. So this way, it will cover the betting sector or entirely the cryptocurrencies, which it's an untapped potential for the Kenya Revenue Authority. And as well, I understand that the regulations are not yet out. So maybe they can make it more efficient to have the regulations out, so that now players within that sector are able to be brought into the tax brackets. As well, in terms of the informal sector, something that I think it will greatly help KRA is on the ETIMS, the electronic tax information system. So this way, you, like right now, you can not benefit from an expense if you've not raised an invoice from ETIMS. Because let's say right now, me and you, you and I, we've done business and you want to pay me. For me to be able to get an expense or benefit from that expense as a deduction, you need to have an ETIMS invoice. So this way, even the people now in the informal sector will be required to onboard automatically. The other thing which I also saw is the punitive measures, like the penalties on non-compliance of ETIMS. So this way, people within the same sector, within the informal sector, will now be able to be encouraged to onboard on ETIMS, and that way, collectively now as the taxpayers, will increase the tax base so that everybody pays their fair share. Yes.
Digitization and using technology. Let's go to the informal sector. You will find that because KRA is very active when it comes to matters using technology and data to identify taxpayers, and also tax liability, potential tax liabilities. Is this improving compliance or is causing anxiety? The reason I'm asking this is because you will find some places where you will go and they will tell you that you can only pay strictly cash. No M-Pesa or no paying via card. They want strict cash. So hard cash.
Okay. So it's more of the business environment, which if at all the tax measures or what the government is doing is encouraging taxpayers to pay voluntarily. That way, they are not, then KRA will not have a point of now deploying measures like enforcement. Like for sure, you said, right now KRA have a unit who are empowered to go on, to go to the field and fetch information or data from people who are not complying. So that way, they're able to pinpoint that even though you are not in the AI or the data radar, so that way, KRA will be able to come out and tax or on board people who are not on the same sector. But as well, technology is key. And then, and then again, in terms of sensitization, we've also seen KRA having measures like Ushuru Mashinani, where now they go to the grassroots. And
we'll be looking at taxes mashinani because we also need to reach out and everyone should be paying taxes but should not be scared of paying taxes. Let's first of all cross over to the launch of Office of the Registrar of Political Parties 2025 to 2028 strategic plan. The event is currently underway. Let's first of all listen in.
In relation to party nominations. On the key result area of digital transformation and data management, there are three strategic objectives. One is to achieve 100% digitization of services by 2028.
Deputy Registrar
and the strategy is to automate political parties' management business processes. The second objective is to ensure compliance with Data Protection Act by 2028. And the strategies to be employed include improve records management, digitize capacity building, maintain accurate records of Office of the Registrar of Political Parties, for the political parties themselves, and the general public records. And the fourth is to enhance privacy and security of data subjects. The third objective is to enhance execution of office mandates through the use of AI and big data analytics by 2028. And the strategy is actually to deploy AI and big data analytics in ORPP's processes. On the key result area of partnership and stakeholder engagement, the strategic objective is to strengthen inclusive partnership and stakeholder engagement for enhanced public participation, advocacy, and democratic governance, and Two strategies will be employed to achieve that objective. One is to establish and strengthen mutually beneficial partnerships with key stakeholders, and secondly is to enhance resource mobilization. The other objective is to enhance public outreach and advocacy, and the strategy is to strengthen communication and advocacy programs to increase public awareness and participation, and also to enhance citizenry understanding of their constitutional political rights. The third objective is to strengthen the PPLC, that is, yes, I'll come back to that. And the strategy is to ensure that the capacity and the coordination of the political parties liaison committee to promote effective and political party engagement. The other key resort area is institutional governance and capacity, and I will take you through the objectives and the strategies for that. Under this key resort area, the first strategic objective is to improve financial transparency and accountability, and the strategy is to strengthen prudent financial management. The other objective is to improve budget allocation and utilization of resources, and the strategies to be employed is to
That is the Deputy Registrar of Political Parties, Madam Agatha Wahome there. That's the launch of their strategic plan that takes them up to 2028. We are now crossing over to Kiambu Road, where there's a launch of a Forensic Evidence Management Unit, FEMU, laboratory that was accredited to handle investigations. Let's first of all listen in. That's a small comment.
Be also easy for businesses and service providers to understand and know their customers better as we integrate it with the National Bureau of Statistics. And therefore, persons who in the past have slipped through the system will no longer do so, because the records will be very clear. We will know who you are. And that is really what it means in practice. It means that Kenyans will get faster, more reliable services. We will also be rolling our biometric enrollment to police stations nationwide, so investigation can move faster and services reach people closer home. I want to say that this is a game changer. As I said, people will not be slipping through the system even as you undertake investigations. It will make us to be in a position to deal with criminals very faster. But also, just imagine, we were with some citizens who had come to queue, and they knew that they are coming to apply their, they had already applied their police clearance certificates online. So they were coming here to do the fingerprints the old way, you know, with ink all over. Some were even carrying, those who had done their fingernails, were coming with very important wipes to take care of their fingernails and fingers. And they were hoping that they will get their clearing certificates in the next 2-3 weeks, 1 month. I saw in their faces really some level of excitement when they, at an instant, within 2 minutes, they had their police clearance certificate, and they were joyous and happy. And I look forward to this service really making every Kenyan across the country happy. But it's also going to make criminals sad. Those who have slipped through the system over time, this combination of these two services will make it very difficult for them to survive and to go through. And without really joking, this is a very serious statement. If these systems were there in place for many years, people like Rigathi Gachagua would not have survived the system over the years. To survive as a habitual offender, as a DO, until he sneaked through the system to be our deputy president. Such things will never happen again with this very important technology advancement. This accreditation means our chain of custody for evidence now meets international standards. Evidence will be collected, stored, and presented properly, which means stronger prosecutions and more convictions from our courts. It also sends the message that our forensic evidence is now benchmarked globally, and our investigations are better equipped than ever to hold offenders accountable. It also positions Kenya as a regional leader in forensic science and sends a strong message to criminals. Our investigative capabilities are stronger, and our justice system is increasingly equipped to hold offenders accountable. We have made progress in other areas too. Our chemistry, biology, bomb disposal, and cyber and digital forensic units are working towards similar accreditation. We are deepening our partnership with ANAP, ICITAP, and other international bodies. It is gratifying to know that these reforms, while a result of benchmarking with best practices, are Kenya-owned and Kenya-led, built around our priorities, which are digital transformation, professionalism, and governance based on data, not guesswork. Where are we headed to? 3 principles will guide the future policing in Kenya. First is technological sovereignty, including systems like the multi-biometric identification system that give us real-time intelligence while keeping citizens' data safe. Second is professional excellence. This means holding every forensic and investigative function to international standards, so justice rests on evidence, not influence. And third is service that puts citizens first, using technology to cut red tape and build public trust in the police. We will not stop until every police station, every investigator, and every forensic unit meets these standards. The ministry will keep providing the policy direction, the budget, and the coordination needed to keep this going. To our development partners, please keep working with us. And this will make really the more difference. To ANAP and ICITAP, thank you for believing in this vision and standing by us. To the men and women of the National Police Service and the DCI, thank you for your professionalism. You are making Kenya safer. And to the people of Kenya, this belongs to you. It reflects a government that listens and delivers, and one committed to building a modern, professional, and accountable security system that serves every citizen with efficiency, integrity, and fairness. What we celebrate today is one milestone in a longer journey. More accreditations are coming. More systems will be upgraded. More reforms are already underway. Let me just give you a brief preview of what we are planning to do. As you very well know, we are undertaking currently the procurement process for the IC4, Integrated Command, Control, and Computation System, that will ensure that we have coverage of CCTV cameras in 6 towns in Kenya, which includes the 5 cities of Nairobi, Mombasa, Nakuru, Eldoret, and Kisumu.
That has been Interior Cabinet Secretary Onesmus Kipchumba Murkomen there live at the DCI headquarters in Kiambu Road during the launch of the Forensic Evidence Management Unit that is the 4th of its kind in the world and the first of its kind in Africa that will help aid to document the evidence and make even work a little bit more easier. More of that in our subsequent bulletin. My colleague Aden is on that bit. And just because of the interest of time, just in case you joined us, we are looking at the roadmap to Kenya's 2027-28 budget. Of course, becoming a little bit earlier because of our general election. And I have been hosting CPA Nathan Kiptui, who is a principal tax advisor, Ichiban Tax and Business Advisory. And because of the interest of time, what would constitute a Wanjiko budget that will also see KRA, on the other hand, achieve its targets?
Thank you. So for the Wanjiko, they are more interested on the realities of the day-to-day, not the budget or the jargons within the fiscal element. So for the Wanjiko, it means what is the cost of food? Is it affordable? do they have healthcare? In terms of government efficiency in helping them. And then, so this way, the Wanjiku will be looking at a budget where all those things are catered for in a way. And this way, I think the only thing that the government will do is on the allocations that are specifically for the Wanjiku. For instance, the youth, they've got the Nyota program. We've also seen other forms of loans that are extended to the Wanjiku. So we will be looking at how the budget will turn out for the year 2027, 2028. Yeah.
And as we wrap up, elections, budget, we might have a runoff. There are so many things that will be, so many pieces that will be put in place next year. At the end of the day, the realization of KRA targets has never been achieved. Every year we still have some billions that we are yet to hit. Realistically, what can KRA do to achieve targets, its tax targets?
Very good question. So for the KRA, this year, I understand the target was about 94-95% achievement. So they are not yet there, as you said, but then it's a great improvement because we can now see a KRA who are taxpayer friendly, not like before. And in terms of what they can do to achieve more in the future, I would say, in my view, we look at the canons of taxation. If this tax system can be done in such a way that it's equitable, that it's flexible and certain, so this way it will help even the taxman to collect more taxes and surpass the target. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I've been speaking to CPA Nathan Kiptui, who is the Principal Tax Advisor at Ichiban Tax and Business Advisory. We have been looking at the roadmap to Kenya's budget 2027-28, and as we mentioned as we were beginning this conversation, that is owing to the general election. That process kicked off this week, and CS Mbadi has said that we really need everyone to play his part as we head to the general election. More in regards to this, we'll be keeping you updated in regards to the budget and, of course, anything that will come up in regards to that. We are now done with the first hour, where we'll be looking and seeking to be deepening Kenya's diplomacy. Yes, we've had a number of diplomatic relationship with a number of countries and entities. You do remember we still the host of Tumaini project. We still have, we had our police officers in Haiti. In our region at the DRC, we will be talking about that. How can we strengthen that to make sure that Kenya is a more powerful country when it comes to matters diplomacy? That and much more when we come back.
Let's now welcome Team DGDA.
Kupata shule ya mtoto wako disabled si rahisi.
Integrated schools do more than just sharing a physical space. They build teamwork and create a sense of belonging.
We are looking at an education system that encompasses everything that this child on the spectrum requires.
When we open our school doors to everyone, we just don't change how children learn, but we break down the walls of social stigma and teach them